Earlier on I spoke to Kevin Ritson to find out more about Lotus Cup UK. Am I right in saying Lotus Cup UK is now a championship?
You are, Amy. The MSA don't always award championships very easily. They're quite careful about how they do that. So we're both honoured and delighted to have been given that opportunity to run a championship. It adds an extra dimension because all the drivers are now going for points, and so there's a bit more, something more to aim for other than just race wins. There's a bit more strategy involved, and it's taken drivers along from the Lotus Cup Europe and the Elise Trophy. And the great thing for the Elise Trophy is that it means that we've got a much more open field with new novice drivers competing.
So tell me about the format of these races.
The races will last an hour and the drivers have to make a pit stop. They can change drivers at that point, but they have to be out of the car for 3 minutes. And that adds an extra dimension again because you've got strategy involved in that. We've got 5 classes. We start off at the moment with 211, which is for the more race-orientated lightweight Lotus. The Exeges, which are a little bit more aerodynamic, but have a little bit more power as well, but they're heavier. Then you have the open class, which is effectively for cars that don't fit into the normal criteria. It's got cars like Europas and 340Rs. You've got a production class for any cars that are eligible for the Elise Trophy. And finally, we've got an Evora class. These cars are very new, so we haven't got them on the grid just yet, but they'll be coming later on, and they run to GT4 spec.
You're second on the grid.
Yep.
2 of you racing.
Yep.
How do you think that's going to affect you?
Very good actually, because I think they'll give us more sort of with an hour-long race. You've got stamina to take into consideration, whereas a 20-minute sprint race is obviously it's more of a flat-out thing. So stamina is good, and obviously we can change strategy.
Okay, brilliant. Have you got any tactics? You're out first.
I'm out first, so I'll get its mark. So this will be interesting for me because I've never started at the front of the grid before. So this will be a learning curve.
What about you? How are you feeling?
Yeah, fine. You know, obviously Glenn's got a job to do at the start of the race, and then once Glenn hands over to me, my job is to try and bring the car back in highest place as possible.
You're in pole position by quite a lot. Yeah. Do you think you'll walk away with this?
I don't think so, because I was having to push the car quite hard to that time, and I don't think the car will last an hour being driven like that. So I think it'll be close, but we'll have to see after the stops.
Okay, well, your main competition, they've got 2 guys going. Do you reckon that's an advantage for you or a disadvantage?
I think it will start off as an advantage because I think I'm quicker than one of the drivers, but when they do their change, Jamie's probably the same pace as me, so then he'll probably catch up quite quickly. So I think it'll be close at the end, which will be good.
So you're pretty confident?
Yeah, hopefully. Just have to see if the car can last that long and try my best.
So this is a 1-hour race with pit stops. Will that present any problems?
It could do, because we have to fuel halfway. So if we have a problem with the fueling or there's just some other problem with the car, then that could hold us up in the pit stops. So we shall see, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed for you. Yeah. This is the first ever Lotus Cup UK Championship race. It's an hour long, full of pit stops and driver changes. It's going to be amazing.
It certainly will be, Amy, as the Yokohama Grid girls head up a sizable field here for the first ever Lotus Cup UK Championship race. And on pole positions, the man we were hearing from, Mark Speller, alongside him, Glenn Sherwood and Jamie Stanley. Second row of the grid, Simon Deacon and Tom Chataway, a strong row that. And then row 3, Pete Story and the effervescent Steve Williams. It's a rolling start for the Lotus Cup UK, so it's Mark Speller in the black car to the front of the shop who is going to lead them away. It's Glenn Sherwood who is starting the car in second position. He'll hand over to Jamie Stanley once the pit window opens, 20 minutes or so into the race. We're in car with Glenn Sherwood. Away we go. Watch him plant the right foot, pumping the clutch as he changes gear. It's not such a quick start though. Tom Chataway goes around the outside in second position and up the inside, possibly into third. Is that Marcus Jewell? It is. No, it's Simon Deacon who's made a good start. So it's Mark Speller who leads from Tom Chataway, then Simon Deacon, and also Pete Story making his way up, as well as Marcus Jewell. Everybody else piling through, sizable field down into the Montreal hairpin, and Glenn Sherwood's around the outside here. He's being hung out to dry with elusive positions. Yes, there goes Pete Story, as Mark Speller's got the advantage and really pulling away from Tom Chataway. Simon Deacon, Pete Story, then Glenn Sherwood, who's got Marcus Jewell right on his tail. Jewell really using this weekend as a development weekend for that car, as Mark Speller, vastly experienced Lotus and GT racer, leads the field through Agostini for the first time and up towards Hamilton, which is probably the corner the drivers enjoy the most on the Snetterton 300 now. Deceptively quick left-hander. That brings them then towards Oggies, which is where Speller goes now, already building up an advantage over Tom Chataway. He's going to have to start worrying about Simon Deacon in the fairly imminent future here, because Deacon in the black car closing onto the white machine of Tom Chataway. Leading the production class in the number 17 car is Tom Boardman, who has previously raced in the Porsche Carrera Cup UK, and he's up there mixing it with some of the more modified machines at the very head of the field. Down to Brundle for the first time go our leaders, and Tom Chataway taking a very tight line through now. Will that compromise him as he comes into Nelson, because Simon Deacon closes up under braking. They sprint on towards the bomb hole. Not really an overtaking opportunity, but certainly the new Coram curve is, because you can really pressurise the driver, force them to run wide, and then they can just make the error going into Murray's, as we saw with Ken Savage in the Lotus Track League Trophy race a little bit earlier on. Back in car with Glenn Sherwood, and he has got Rob Fenn homing in on his tail as Mark Speller goes into Murray's. The completely reprofiled chicane was Russell, but it gives them a much quicker exit onto the centre straight, and that in turn opens up the overtaking opportunities on towards Riches. So up towards Riches they come, and Mark Speller under no threat for the lead. The same can't be said for Tom Chataway in second place, because he has Simon Deacon on his tail. It's Marcus Jewell who's worked himself up into third position. So the Lotus 211s coming to the fore, certainly for the lower podium position. Then Steve Williams, who's going well with Pete Story, and Dennis Van den Sarvel in the bright orange machine also in the mix. As just out of shot, you could see Rob Fenn going for a move on Glenn Sherwood as the production class runners surge through. It's the 340R of Mark Speller leading through Palmer as they then head on towards Agostinho. Real overtaking opportunity this one, because it's a late entry, which means the drivers can see a gap up the inside on the way into the corner, go for it, and then they find the corner just tightens a little bit too much on the exit. So Simon Deacon, for the moment, don't forget this is now a long race, decides to keep his powder dry. There's plenty of dicing going on. There's James Knight in 99 machine. He's got Ken Savage in the number 5 car right in his tail. Knight going defensive, Ken Savage looking to the inside. Savage, of course, already a race winner this weekend at Snetterton, so piling on the pressure on James Knight. These all production class runners back to the battle for second place as it works its way into Murray's, and Chataway still holding Deacon at bay, as Ken Savage isn't content with fighting with the production class runners. He's now on the tail of Doug Setters, and Setters in the number 8 machine coming under all sorts of pressure as they go through the bomb hole from Ken Savage, who just seems to love this Snetterton 300 layout. As up into second place goes Simon Deacon, nicely done. So Deacon goes through into second place, and we've been seeing that Tom Chataway maybe doesn't have the same pace as Deacon. Now, will Deacon be able to pull away from Tom Chataway? Tom himself, a tenacious competitor, always very entertaining to watch. Let's see what he's got in reply. I'm sure that Deacon is going to be able to get on terms here with Mark Speller, though, because Speller has built up that advantage and looks to be very much in control of the race. Here is Marcus Jewell coming to pressure from Glenn Sherwood and Dennis Van den Sarvel. And Van den Sarvel looks to the inside of Glenn Sherwood. Is he going to go through? Just about. They almost touch going into Palmer. Great stuff this in the Lotus Cup UK. So Glenn Sherwood demoted a position. But Sherwood, as we were hearing from Mark Speller earlier, probably the slower driver in that combination. When Jamie Stanley takes the wheel of that 47 car, expect to see it rocket back up the field. So now we've got Marcus Jewell with Dennis Van den Sarvel on his tail. Marcus Jewell loves his racing, loves the social side of racing as well, as Rob Fenn is picking his way up through the field in the Grove 3 Motorsport machine, ahead of Tom Chataway and Simon Deacon. So Rob Fenn really right up into the podium positions as James Knight comes under pressure again from Ken Savage, as the pit window has now opened. We're 20 minutes into this one. James Knight and Ken Savage single driver entries, unlike the GWS Motorsport entry, although first in is Paul Davis in the 36 machine. He will have to serve, as with all the drivers, their 182nd 3-minute pit stop. As we get contact at Murray's, and Pete Story rather drop kicks Marcus Jewell into a spin there. As we go in car Glenn Sherwood, who pits in. On the radio they're saying into the pits now for Glenn Sherwood. So Sherwood up to his marks. Great in-car footage this. He comes to halt, the door is open. Out will get Sherwood immediately. As soon as Sherwood is clear of the car, the fuel bowsers can go in. Although they've got 3 minutes to effect this pit stop, they'll do it as quickly as possible so that Jamie Stanley can get strapped into the car, settled in, and ready to get back into the fray as quickly as possible. So the tyre pressure is being checked, the fuel going in. Out goes the fuel bowser, in goes Jamie Stanley, last year's GT4 British GT champion, so very rapid driver is Jamie. as Matt Bartlett comes in for his pit stop, as does Rob Fenn, who'll be handing over to his father David, although, as it says on his helmet, Davido Fanini. The father and son combination love their racing. Well, the pit window has brought the pit lane alive, as out onto the track goes Jamie Stanley. Let's see what he can do. David Fenn clambers into the cockpit of the 66 car. As we go back to the action, as James Knight and Ken Savage, well, if they weren't side by side, we'd be disappointed, and they are side by side, as they have been throughout much of this race. There's a little bit of a sideways moment there from Vital Chahun. He is going to lose out the position. As Mark Speller leads, we go down to Amy in the pits with Glenn Sherwood.
Glenn, how was the first stint?
Excellent, I loved it.
Yeah?
It's the first time up in that far of the grid, so obviously it's quite nervy. And but once you get into a groove with it, I'm sort of not quick at the box, but once I get into a groove or something, the longer it goes on, the longer I prefer it. So for me, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Well, the 30-car field is giving us a very lively pit lane, and as David Fenn accelerates out of the pit lane, Amy has found his son, Rob.
So, Rob, you were 8th and you got to 2nd. How do you feel?
Pretty happy. I mean, obviously it's disappointing not being first, but hopefully if David keeps pushing, we'll start to reel the gap back in. I mean, it's hard work. Got a bit stuck in the early parts of the race, but started to find a rhythm and started to enjoy it. It's good.
The action continues in the pits and on the track. Join us after the break for more.